What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're going to be talking about the new Skinwalker Void Legendary Leorius the Proud. Awesome new lion added to the mix. Really glad they're adding a lot more Skinwalkers. Let's talk about his looks, his skills, and where you can use him if you're one of the lucky few who will in fact pull him this early into the release of these champions. Alright guys, so as we can see here, we have Leorius the Proud, and in my opinion, he looks pretty cool, but to be honest with you, I think they could have made him look a little bit better. I'm personally not a fan of the weapons on this guy. I would really like to see more interactions with his claws. He does have a pretty cool animation there. I cannot lie about that. I do think his face looks pretty decent. Not so much straight on, but once you start getting to the sides, it looks good. I think overall, his outfit is a little bit underwhelming for a champion that's kind of the first lion to enter the game. Everyone knows lions are fierce and, like we see, the proud, so I was expecting a little bit more given. I mean, perfect example, I said this on stream. Take a look at Leorius the Proud. Now look at Krutroxa. It's kind of night and day with the detail, with how visually appealing it is, and to be fair to Leorius, we do have very high expectations. We know how awesome lions can in fact look, which is probably why I think it is my opinion that they could have done better with the look of this guy. I do think he looks overall pretty great though. Now moving on to his skills, Lion's Twin Claws. He attacks one enemy 2 times, each hit having a chance to place defense down. Damage is increased by 20% if the target has less than 60% HP. Really cool health interaction there. Rage of the Pride and AoE attacking 2 times. This champion is immune to all CC when this skill is not on cooldown. So here we have the A3 attacks all enemies, having an 80% up to 100% when fully booked to True Fear for 1 turn before attacking, has an 80% once again up to 100% of applying a weaken on all enemies. So in a sense here we have a defense down and weakened champion, AoE being the weakened, defense down being the single target chance, although the chance is only 60% on that A1, although it is a double hit. The next thing, let's talk about this passive here, which is interesting synergy with that A2. Basically what this is it's like Skull Crown, it's like Swift Parry, places unkillable on this champion for 1 turn before receiving a fatal hit. Passive effect is pretty much a built-in Fury set on top of things. So right off the bat, you can kind of see the value of this champion, having Swift Parry built in, having Fury built in. The question is, how can we use it to our success? Now what we're going to do is we're going to head straight into the campaign, talk about this champion's animation, see if anything stands out. Let's see what they did. One thing I didn't mention that we can see in the top left of the screen here is going to be his aura increases ally crit rate in all battles by 24%. Definitely a great benefit to this champion. So let's go ahead and start this and see what this guy has to offer. We are on 1 speed here. Let's take a look at his A1 ability, and this is where you can kind of see my complaint initially, where I really wish they got rid of the weapons and they added more to his claw. A bite would have been awesome. They do have the slashing mechanic added here, which is nice for that A1, but I was expecting a little bit more. Now let's have a look at the A2 ability. This one's pretty cool. It's like an animated bite AoE. I think that definitely took a lot of mental strength to kind of come up with and bring this innovative idea to that A2 ability, so I can't complain too much because it's pretty unique and we've seen nothing like it so far. Moving on to the A3, we have Awesome Roar. Let's take a look at what this looks like. It almost looks like a giant lion claw comes out of the sky, slams the ground, leaves that awesome fiery imprint on the ground, dealing really cool damage. One cool thing about this, I'm going to burn the A1 here, his animations are quite quick. Putting this on 2 speed, we'll be able to see the A2, I believe. So this is one thing he does have going for him. It's a very quick cast animation, although in my opinion it probably takes a little bit away from how cool the animation and unique it actually is. Now that we went over that, the question is, how did I gear him? And how can you take full advantage of this guy? So as mentioned before, he has a built-in Swift Parry and Fury. So my question was, how can I capitalize on this? The answer, add a Fury set of my own and also a damage dealing Cruel set. because we want to see how much damage he can do. Now, where did I test this? Pretty much everywhere. Dungeons, arena, clan boss. Where did he stand out? You bet it was clan boss. Unkillable. This guy always being on low health, making sure he has the mastery that heals him back up so he can counterattack. Yes, you're using a little bit of synergy there. If he counterattacks, he's going to re-heal and lose some of his damage. It's going to be worth it in the end because of the damage he can put out. So one thing I want to talk about before I head to the clan boss is going to be dungeons. He did a good job. I wouldn't recommend building him full damage for dungeons. I don't personally believe you're going to be able to take advantage of his passive too much in dungeons. If he's getting this low, I really wouldn't build him a glass cannon. I recommend giving him accuracy. I think he's going to do well there. A little bit of damage. If you want to use the aura, if you're progressing with the crit rate, that's going to be a huge benefit to you and your team here. And the A2, I would just use this as damage. Don't worry too much about blocking being CC'd. So with that being said, let's head straight over to the clan boss where I did test this guy out and find out some pretty cool things. So as we can see here, I am using a classic that we haven't seen in a long time. I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time. Double Maneater 3 DPS. Unfortunately, unless I'm mistaken, I don't think you can full auto this, even with the AI setup right off the bat. Maybe that's changed. I'm not up to date with these slow teams, but this was a signature team for the longest time. And it's really cool to be able to kind of revisit this team. And I'm using the best overall clan boss damage dealer in the entire game, Dracomorph, to compare to Leorius. I think this is going to be a great test, seeing how Fury set plus insane stats on this champion can compare to Dracomorph with the same exact damaging stats. However, he has the defense down, weaken, and debuffs. Leorius just has the pure damage passive that gives a Fury type effect, as well as a Fury set on top, stacking with this champion. And what did I want to do? I wanted to minimize RNG as much as I could, so I added a Longbeard. Guaranteed all 5 champions are picked for an ally attack each and every single time, and I am taking advantage of Leorius' aura in this battle for the crit rate, making me be able to lower the crit rate on all of these champions. If you want to know more about this specific clan boss team, you can definitely check out Deadwood Jedi's website. Most of you already know about that, but I really want to talk about this comp and kind of what we can see as far as damage numbers. So the first thing I figured out is his A3 is something you don't ever want to use in the clan boss, because the damage cannot compare to the A1 and the A2, which to me was a little bit surprising. Now the A1 doesn't hit quite as hard as the A2. However, this wasn't tested on a almost dead clan boss. If you remember, the damage is increased by an additional 20% if the target's under a certain threshold of health. So had I tested this and that been the case, I do personally believe the A1 would become very close damage wise to the amount of damage we are seeing from this A2 ability here. So once again, just to reiterate, if you are going to use this guy, make sure you disable that A3 and any type of clan boss content you're doing to really min-max his damage output. Alright, so now that we can see the synergy here between Dracomorph, Leorius, Longbeard, and 2 Maneaters, let's head to the end of this clip and see what the total damage is going to look like. Alright, so as we can see here, not that bad. Remembering that this team was signature for a 2-key team, and now it's still a 2-key team, but the fact that it's so close to 1 key is quite impressive, and Longbeard definitely isn't the most optimal person, but for RNG's point of view, it was for this team. So 62.39 million damage, Leorius doing 18.3 million by himself with no debuffs, Dracomorph in the same damage dealing stats doing 19.3 million damage. So 1 million damage over 50 turns may seem like a lot, but I promise you it's not at all. So this is quite impressive, seeing Leorius to, in my opinion, his true potential with Fury set stacking with this passive and him having very high defensive stats. So overall, I would say this is a great champion. Should you use him in Bad Eater because he does have defense down and weaken? I honestly don't think so, if I'm being completely honest with you, because like I mentioned before, you're kind of losing a lot when you do that, and I really don't think that the numbers are going to add up there. Maybe if you put crazy gear on everybody, he's going to be an option. That's up to some people to test. I already did see a few people trying to make it work on the test server based on what I saw from the clan boss screenshots, and it didn't look like they were getting very far with it. The numbers were quite unimpressive, but you never know, we might see something really cool coming out from another one of these content creators, because I'm probably not going to be testing Leorius in a Bat Eater team. But with that being said, if you want a 2-key team, definitely use Leorius and Bat Eater. But outside of that, if you're wanting to push the 1-key thresholds, I do believe he would require way too much to make work. Alright, so now that I showed you that, let me show you the total stats I use on this champion. We have 6.5 thousand attack, 281 crit damage, crit rate 80% because we're using his 24% aura. Speed doesn't matter here, that's specific to the Clan Boss team. Mastery is pretty self-explanatory, War Master here. And looking at his books real quick, we have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So with that being said, 10 books is, I would say, medium threshold of books. In my opinion, it's still a little bit high for a champion. Maybe we were spoiled with having champions that only required 6 books. Bring me back to those days. That was definitely a nice treat. I think a lot of champions should be around 6 to 8, maybe 10 books in the high end. We've been seeing a lot of 13 book and higher champions, and I think 10 is kind of the middle upper threshold of that level here. Is it going to be worth it? That's totally up to you and where your account is. But overall, this definitely isn't a bad champion. So now that we've seen his stats, let's just head to Dracomore just so you can kind of see the comparison here. We have 6.2 thousand attack and 284% crit damage, 79 crit, still crit capped with his aura. So as you can see, to my point before, they were very close, if not almost identical in the amount of damage benefiting stats they both had, and they still performed within 1,000,000 damage of each other, which was definitely impressive. So with that being said, just to kind of showcase one more time, and we'll just pick a random dungeon here, let's go ahead to Dragon stage 25 here. Let's use, we're not going to use Battle and Gerptuck, but we will use a crit rate aura because it's needed based on the gear I have. We will use Lydia. Hopefully she has enough speed to go first, 224. Perfect here. Outside of that, we'll throw in an attack up just to kind of gauge and get a nice look at what we can expect as far as damage numbers on this guy. And outside of that, let me just throw in some survivability here so I can get a couple turns out of the way. What I want to show you is his damage at maximum health, even though his masteries aren't ideal for it. So let's start with the attack up ability. Let's start with that defense down and weaken. Hopefully it lands, and it does on everybody. So now the A2 is going to be the harder hitting of the ability. So let's take a look at that at full health once again. And like I said before, nothing crazy, 30,000, 40,000. Most champions with gear like this are going to be doing 100 to 200,000 per hit here, which is definitely a big difference. However, I think it would be too broken to properly scale a champion like this, because he does gain up to 99% increased damage based on that passive that we do know that he has. So let's go ahead and try and taunt. And we got the taunt, perfect. We'll go ahead and ally protect just as an additional precaution. Let's cycle through this again and really get a look at the A3 of this champion. Let's just burn an A1 from Lydia. And now we're back to Leorius. Let's use this A3, awesome roar, see what kind of numbers we're looking at from this single hit. Okay, so here we have 80 to 60,000 damage, obviously 80 being the high end of that threshold of damage. As mentioned before, nothing crazy here, but to be expected when this champion's synergy is based upon him being at a low health. So since we tested the A2 and the A3, it would be wrong of me to kind of just go through this and not test this A1, even though it's going to make it a little bit longer. I'm sure you guys won't mind too much, so let's go ahead, try not to kill the champions in the process here. We'll burn an A1 there. They're going to get a turn. Maybe not. Okay, so here's Leorius, Lion's Twin Calls, looking at that A1 ability. And here we have a 24,000 and a 23,000 hit. And yes, this would be higher. He didn't have attack up for that, I'm pretty sure, because he burned through in the last 2 turns. But still, you can kind of gauge how much damage this champion can do. You can apply that straight to the Doom Tower anywhere you would want to use this guy outside of an unkillable team. Alright guys, so now let's go ahead and take a look at Leorius in the arena. Now, one thing to consider here is I am using, like I showed you, Fury gear. This is hands down the best set to use on this champion. And really quickly, now that I changed it a little bit for the arena, one thing to note is that if you're not using Fury gear, do not expect anywhere near the numbers you're about to see. On top of that, this Fury gear is above and beyond exceptional. 6.1 thousand attack, 276 crit damage, 100% crit rate, so we're going to see how well he does in a go second team. But the main problem you're going to find is the one champion that counters everything in Leorius' kit is going to be Warlord, who is currently in the meta, has been in the meta for a very long time, so you're going to figure that out pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and take a shot against a team like this, where we have very commonly a Cantrifin, and he's probably going to be, I mean, he's not going to play as Cantrifin, he's just way too strong. Maybe there are some situations that you can get around, but I really just don't see it. Block buff on this champion when attacking a defense like this is going to be an extremely easy counter for this, since you don't have to CC him, you just have to go first and do that. But if you want to see this on offense here, this is the type of team you can use. Now, I don't want to really count on my team going first. Leorius, I'm pretty sure you're going to see at full health, doesn't do a ton of damage here, and maybe we can just try this and see if we can go first here and see what it's like with full health. Okay, we got the counterattack. Now let's try to sleep. Okay, we did get a weak hit, so there's not going to be a full CC across the board here. We have defense down, attack down. Okay, so now I would be extremely shocked if anyone survives because I'm wearing a Fury set here. So let's go ahead and use the A3. I mean, I'm going to die anyways. There's no chance I survive because of this Swift Parry proc. But let's just see it. Okay, so actually, it looks like Cantrifin healed a little bit there, but as I said before, oh, actually, I got lucky. Okay, so 245,000 damage, once again, with Fury set, so don't go crazy. This is definitely a very strong champion. I'm sure Trundo would do very well at 1% HP with the Fury set on. As well as this champion, I actually do believe this champion would do better in the same circumstance because he does have that passive gain. I could be wrong though. However, I want to know, and hopefully I can find a team to properly showcase this. There's a huge difference between this guy attacking at 100% health and 1% health. It's almost night and day between his passive and all of these things stacking up quite nicely. Okay, so his health's already getting low. This is good. Let's go ahead with the... Oh, okay, so apparently my Yoshi is extremely quick. Okay, Stairs will indeed get a turn here. We stripped almost everybody. Perfect example. This is a clanmate of mine. I know he has very strong gear. The fact that he didn't kill a speed glass cannon team like this using that A3 ability Awesome Roar on me in his defense is pretty much a good indicator here. So let's go ahead, return the favor with Awesome Roar with me using this OP gear at 1% health. And did good damage. Swift Parry procced. It did almost no damage to the champion with defense up and no defense down debuff on them. So what are we going to do? Try again. Let's go for the sleep. Okay, True Fear, unlucky, pretty much just ends there. I do want to try this one more time because this is actually a rather decent team to test against. So one thing I can do, actually not with the Valkyrie here, we're just going to keep the team in as is. The only thing I could change is try to make them a little bit tankier and go for some type of turn meter decrease here. Let's see if I can meet whatever resistance check is in front of me here. So Sifi goes first. Let's go for the sleep. We got it on pretty much nobody. Let's reduce that turn meter. Maybe not the best idea based on the amount of reaction gear on all of these champions here. Let's go ahead. I'm not worried about CC from anyone besides Sifi here. So I just want to really test it. We saw how hard the A3 hit. Let's go ahead and use the A2 with full health here. I am going to be susceptible to a sleep, but let's just go for it. Okay, so with defense down, not quite enough to kill anybody. This is kind of what I was saying with the massive difference between full health and not full health. So does he do damage? Yes, he does damage. It's still pretty much fine, and hopefully I can actually pull off a win here. Let's see what we got going. So I will get a turn here, and now let's hopefully use this A3 since the A2 unfortunately didn't do enough damage, which means the A3 probably won't. But I am at 1% health now, so let's give it a go. Okay, not enough to kill Duchess. You really want to be able to kill Duchess here, so I am leaning towards the fact that the A2 is going to be the hardest hitter. I know I talked about that while I did the clan boss, so that's a huge point there. So let's kind of cycle through and try to kill these 2 revivers. We'll just toss it on auto and watch this damage. Hopefully it doesn't get healed too much by Warlord. Okay, 34,000 with the defense down. Oh, I thought Duchess was going to kill. What a sight that would be. Duchess killing the Lion. 1v1. Okay, so 38,000, 27,000, not bad. And I actually think we lose this. Okay, we do lose this, so it happens. I wouldn't expect anything less facing someone from my own clan. So now this is definitely going to be a really cool team to face here. They're going to go first. They have a freeze ability, so what are we going to do? We are pretty much going to go full tank and do everything we can to stay alive, not worry about defense down too much, because it's not going to be as realistic in any type of environment you can actually put Leorius in. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go Lion versus Lion. Pretty much whoever procs unkillable first is going to win. So let's go ahead and throw in Chris here, see how we do with defense down. It should kill everybody. Although with him having a full health Leorius, I don't think he's going to be able to do enough damage even with his best damaging gear. Let's just see how it goes. And okay, virtually no damage because Madame Sayers decided not to be smart. Let's go ahead and use the A3 first here. We had no defense down, still did enough. Now we should be expecting a rather large hit from the enemy right there, which is a perfect example of a champion. I guarantee you the enemy Leorius here is not wearing Fury gear, which is why the damage numbers you saw were not impressive at all, despite him probably having high attack and high crit damage. So let's go ahead and use this A2 ability. With very low health, I really don't think this attack down is going to matter based on the enemy's health pool, but we're going to find out right here. Okay, so actually it did deny me from killing this Madame Sayers. I honestly wasn't expecting that. So let's just put this on auto, and this is going to be a game, set, match, no matter how you look at it. Alright, so here we have it. We're going to go with the 3 tankiest champions in the entire game to try and survive this block revive. We're okay with taking some damage, but not too much. You know what, maybe Chris isn't a good idea. Depends on how much faith I have in this team. Let's just run with 3 champions here and see if we can survive. If not, we'll throw in Chris, because that'll be the best test for sure. Okay, we're already at no health. Instant one-shot on the counterattack, which was awesome. Now let's go ahead and use this A2, see if we get the kill. Easy, no problem. Pretty respectable damage for not having a defense down. And on top of that, no savage gear, so all things to consider for sure. Outside of this, let's go ahead and use this A3 and hopefully I can one-shot him through his freeze. It's okay. I was expecting a number that high. That's perfect. Alright, so overall, I definitely recommend using this guy in a Fury set. Not the most common set to have, so wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people are just throwing this guy in Savage gear. He's going to do well, but like I said, you're not going to get full value or even close to the damage numbers you want to see unless he's taken a decent amount of damage, which means make sure you're not putting reaction gear on him. It's really important for him to proc as unkillable and get to very low health, and hope to God your enemy team doesn't have a Warlord, making him able to be CC'd, which is extremely common as I mentioned before. Alright guys, to recap what we just watched here, that's the conclusion of our Leorius Champion Spotlight. This guy does well, but there's very certain conditions you do have to meet for this champion. Yes, he has a really strong A2 where he's immune to CC. This can help you in Doom Tower, but the difference between him dealing damage at full health and him dealing damage at 1% health is night and day. I'm pretty sure that was very clear from when I showed you him in dungeons to him in the arena doing insane amount of damage. Could this work? Yes, a little bit risky in PvE content. In the arena, unfortunately, is counted by the most popular defense right now and offense on top of that, being Warlord, Basher, anyone you can think of. However, if you do gear this champion properly, he can definitely be an absolute monster in the clan boss unkillable as well as arena in the right setting. So that's going to conclude my video. Give me your thoughts. How realistic do you think this setup is? Are you guys going to struggle putting Fury gear on this champion? Have you been saving your Fury gear? Hopefully after seeing this you have, because it does a stupid amount of damage. If not, you're going to have to deal with Savage Gear, which shouldn't be too far behind, but it will be noticeable. So give me your feedback, leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and I will see you all in my next upload.